So I'm in Detroit. My dear friend, who was a drummer, who we played in a band together. I used to go with one of his sisters. He was first asked to audition for Stevie, and the night before he left, I went to his house. I'm withholding the name until the end, so
Please do, and I know who the name is. Yeah.
So the night before he left, I went to his house because I just wanted to tell him how thrilled I was for him. But he insisted that I play some things on a cassette, and he would take it to Steve. Now, this is the kind of friend he was. So the next day he leaves, and I don't hear from him for what seemed like a month, but it was probably a few days. And then early one morning he called me and said, Stevie wants to see you in New York today.
And you were living where at the time?
Detroit. We were both in Detroit. And he called me and said, Stevie wants to see you in New York. And now it was my first time going to New York. I am just loopy, flying around the house, grabbing clothes, and my mom's on her way to work. And she's like, what is the matter with you? I go, Stevie wants to see me in New York. She's like, well, bring clean underwear. That's all they care about.
That's a mom, right.
That's all they care. They don't care about it. If you die, okay, was his underwear clean? There's no tracks, right? Because then we'll have a problem. But so then I go, but I'm instructed on my way to the airport to pick up one of Steve's brothers. So now I get to go inside Stevie Wonder's house to wait to pick up one of his brothers.
Oh my
So
Lord.
I'm sitting there, and it's like this. I'm like, okay, I'm in Stevie Wonder's house. All right, I'm just here. And I never imagined that I'd be looking inside Steve. No one else was home but one of his brothers, and he comes down the stairs, and we go to the airport and land in New York, and I get settled at the hotel, and I go to the original Hit Factory studio. And I'm sitting there on pins and needles waiting.
How old are you at this time?
That's the other part of the punchline.
Okay.
And so I'm sitting there on pins and needles waiting for the inspiration of my life to walk through the elevator door, and eventually he does, and he comes in, and he's waddling in, the thing with his sister, and this handshake, when I shook his hand, was the single greatest handshake. He said, nice to meet you, and I went. So needless to say, I was excited, and we talked a while, and we did some small talk and played a little bit, and he played one of his unreleased tunes for me at the time, and he wanted to see how quickly I'd learn it, and I still remember what the song was. It turned out to be a song called Spring High that he eventually gave to Ramsey Lewis.
Interesting.
So that was that night. The next day was the more formal audition with the rest of the band, and it was between me and this older-looking white guy who I have since reconnected with a couple years ago at a NAMM show, and it was hysterical to find out that he was the other guy that was auditioning, and he told me he was there because Chick Corea sent him. I never knew any of this, and so I'm there, but I'm doing my thing, and every once in a while, different band members would come up to me and go, "It's okay, you got it. Don't worry." So I'm like, okay, I'm still on pins and needles, and then that was over. I'm in the car with Steve on the way back to the studio, and he turns around and says, "Right, so how does it feel to be a member of Wonderlove?" So now my mind is like. Because I remember hearing about how he's a practical joker, and you never know when he's serious or not. So I said, "Are you serious?" And he went, "Of course." I said, "Oh, well then, would you mind telling my mom?" Because I figured you wouldn't lie to mom. So we get to the studio. I dial the house, give him the phone. The first voice she hears is Stevie Wonder's telling her that he wants her son to join his band, and he's going to take care of me, and blah, 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 blah. And he gives the phone back to me. And for the next 10 minutes, this is what you hear. So, sorry. His ears are bleeding now. He's like, what the hell? I didn't sign up for this. Can you let me know next time? So, Now, two punchlines. This happened April 2nd, 1975. It was a month before I turned 19.
Nice.
And it was a month before he turned 25. Our birthdays are a day and 6 years apart. He was 25 down working on Songs in the Key of Life.
Incredible. You didn't think about that.
Just let that marinate for a minute.
I'm a huge Stevie fan.
Songs in the Key of Life, and he wasn't 25 yet.
And all those songs were hits. And he threw away many songs.
Well, not that he threw away. It's just that so many didn't make it.
That didn't make it on that album. That he saved, of course, used later on. But I mean, the creative writing genius of Stevie Wonder is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. So there's that. The other part of the punchline is my dear friend actually did not get the gig with Steve, but Roy Ayers was hanging around at the time, and Roy said, well, if you don't get it with him, you got it with me. So he went with Roy. His name was Ricky Lawson.
Yeah.
One of the true greats, a dear, dear friend. And, you know, there's a saying that, you know, he would give you the shirt off of his back. He really, literally would give you the shirt off. He would give anything. Yeah. He would come to wherever you lived to wash your car. I don't mean in a metaphorical sense. I mean, he literally enjoyed washing cars. It's something we used to do in Detroit, and it never left him. And I would talk to him, and he'd go, all right, now let me wash your car.